Some live visuals that are coming in from New Delhi's Palam airport, where the bodies of soldiers martyred in that Pulwama terror attack are arriving. Prime Minister Modi is expected to reach the location soon to pay homage to the fallen soldiers. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Siddhant Sibal is joining me for more on this story.
Well, we will be getting those live visual. We have already started to get those live visuals, but now the focus will be on something else. When the bodies reach the families of these soldiers, that is when the tragedy actually unfolds. So we know today was a day which was full of a lot of developments, with diplomacy taking center stage. We know that even as we speak, the Foreign Secretary is briefing the ambassadors, the high commissioners of more than 20 countries. The P5 countries, the permanent 5 countries of the United Nations Security Council have already been briefed. We know there have been global condemnation from Australia to UK to France to Germany and from United States. We know that the White House and the State Department came out with a strong statement hitting out at Pakistan, mentioning Pakistan, clearly saying it's time Pakistan stop aiding and abetting terrorism. But it seems Pakistan has different plans. Just a short while ago, actually, just 30 minutes ago, the American NSA, John Bolton, also spoke to the Indian NSA, Ajit Doval, and discussed about this terrible tragedy which took place on Thursday evening. But the magnitude, still India is getting to know. The Cabinet Committee on Security met earlier this morning, and after that there was this briefing by the Finance Minister in which the immediate decision which India announced that India will be removing the most favored nation status granted to Pakistan, something that was on the anvil ever since the Uri attack took place. And of course, focus will be on diplomatically isolating Pakistan, because that has been India's main focus, especially after the Uri attack. After the Uri attack, we saw how India, along with other South Asian countries, boycotted the SAARC summit in Islamabad, whether it's Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, or Afghanistan. The entire South Asian region stood and spoke in one voice, supported New Delhi's stance when it comes to Pakistan's policy on the issue of terrorism. But it seems that Uri wasn't a lesson which Pakistan was keen to learn from. Today, when the Indian Prime Minister spoke at 11 a.m. in the morning, the first thing he spoke was that the mistake has already been committed. That is a strongly worded statement by the Indian Prime Minister. We do expect much more action, much more developments as the weeks or days progresses. But the immediate action has been on the issue when it comes to the most favored nation status, which was granted by India about 2 decades ago. So a lot of things are happening, but as of now, these bodies arriving, this is basically the tragedy unfolding in front of everyone, in front of so many people. When they will be watching these visuals, it will be a tragedy of huge proportion, because these were young men who were in Kashmir to secure the region, make sure that the administration, people are safe, and they fell in the hand of this the terrorist, who of course was a Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist. We know that Jaish-e-Mohammed is a terrorist organization, but its chief, Masood Azhar, he is being blocked from being designated as an international terrorist by China. China is a worry for New Delhi tonight, because China, it seems, is not changing its stance when it comes to the issue of terrorism, especially on designation of Masood Azhar.
Right, Siddhant. So as we're seeing these visuals, of the heartbreaking visuals of our Indian soldiers being laid to rest there, we believe that the Prime Minister will also be paying his last respects to these fallen soldiers. Remember, 37 of our personnel have been killed in this dastardly attack in Pulwama. And Siddhant, I think the sentiment that's going from the Ministry of External Affairs is to sharpen the attack on Pakistan diplomatically. We know that, as you've been pointing out, that the National Security Advisor has spoken to his US counterpart, also John Bolton. What are the expectations that we have at this point from America, given the fact that the Trump administration has also been very unhappy with many of the things that Pakistan has done as far as terrorism is concerned?
After a terrorist attack, Washington came out very strongly when it comes to supporting New Delhi. Washington was purely very, very vocal, unlike China, who took a lot of time. And we just saw, like, in last 1 hour only, the Chinese ambassador tweeted about the terrorist attack, maybe because of the pressure mounting here in Indian media, because a lot of people in Indian media was talking about how the ambassador has been very, very Twitter friendly user. In a sense, he used to retweet a lot, comment a lot, everything immediately, and it took more than 24 hours for the ambassador to comment on this terrible tragedy. But he also tweeted that how the Chinese foreign minister has written to the external affairs minister condemning terrorism, but it seemed just few hours ago they were not able to react properly, in a sense, on Masood Azhar continuing with their old policy. But America has stood out clearly as an ally, as a friend in need for New Delhi, clearly pointing out Pakistan's role, very vocal about Pakistan's role, even though Pakistan is very important for the Trump administration as of now, because Pakistanis, of course, are playing as a role of facilitator when it comes to the talks which are happening, the Taliban talks with the Americans, so that the Americans could leave Afghanistan soon, because the Trump administration is keen to leave Afghanistan. So Pakistan, in a sense, is important in that sense, but of course India is much more important. And when it comes to choosing between India and Pakistan today, the American administration chose India, very vocal about Pakistani role on the issue of terrorism, because even the Americans are tired and they know about how Pakistan has been playing a dual role when it comes to the issue of terrorism, counter-terrorism. Also, I mean, in a sense, it has been 2 decades, and an Afghan war has been a quagmire for Washington.
That's right. And of course, it's also important that this Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists had actually got training from Afghanistan. That has been our worry, Siddhant, that once the troop withdrawal takes place in Afghanistan, there will be a vacuum created. And then the problem will not just be about training that happens in Pakistan, but some of these terrorists being trained in Afghanistan as well. So presumably that is something that maybe the National Security Advisor discussed with his counterpart as well. Going forward, what is going to be the strategy in Afghanistan?
Well, Afghanistan has been a dominating feature when it comes to the discourse in the region. We know that Zalmay Khalilzad, who is the American envoy on Afghanistan, is in the region. He will be meeting the Taliban, but before that, Taliban is going to meet the Pakistani Prime Minister on 18th of this month. But clearly, Afghanistan is something on top of the mind of everyone, and the Afghan government clearly isolated when it comes to talks which are taking place. First, the Russians talking to Taliban and the opposition in Afghanistan, the Americans separately talking to Taliban, and of course Pakistan taking their own cut in the entire conversation which is happening, clearly feeling happy that they are back in the conversation which are happening, because after the 2001 attack, the 9/11 attacks, Pakistan was initially considered an ally, but when its duplicity was exposed, Pakistan was sidelined from the entire development which was happening, and we saw increase in ties between Afghanistan and India playing as a major development partner in Afghanistan. Number of buildings being built by India, whether it's the parliament, whether it's the dam, India-Afghanistan friendship dam in the western Herat province. A lot of developments happening because of the development, the constitutional and political evolution which has taken in the Afghan society, which of course India has clearly told the American administration through Zalmay Khalilzad, who was in India in January of 2019, that they would not like a reversal of the entire constitutional political structure which the country has arrived after 18 years perhaps of measures, because we all know what rule under Taliban was. We also spoke to Taliban. Wion is the only Indian channel to speak to Taliban, and the Taliban clearly acting as a peacemaker when the interview happened, saying that they believe in the minority rights. They, of course, believe in Chhabar as an economic, playing an important economic role in the region. But by and large, today's worry in New Delhi is the terror attack which has taken place, a terror attack which has deep linkages with not only Pakistan, terrorist groups in Pakistan, but the deep state in Pakistan, which has been a cause of worry for New Delhi for a pretty long time, even though there has been a change in administration from Nawaz Sharif to Imran Khan. But we know how things work in Pakistan. This script is clearly written in Rawalpindi, and that will be the norm. We know even the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan has been saying that he wants peace, he wants dialogue, he wants conversation with New Delhi. But if you look at the speeches made by the Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, it's completely diametrically opposite. He took part in an anti-India event in London in the first week of February. He spoke to Mirwais, he spoke to Sayyid Shah Gilani, and after that we saw how the Pakistani High Commissioner was also summoned. This is the second summoning. Today is the second summoning of the Pakistani High Commissioner in 2019 overall. 7 times the Pakistani High Commissioner has been summoned by New Delhi under the Modi administration. But clearly right now India-Pakistan relationship are at their all-time low, and there will be shadow on Kulbhushan Yadav case, which will be starting from 18, or whether is the Kartarpur talks, which will happen on 14th of March when the Pakistani delegation will be visiting New Delhi for the conversation.